Subscribe and like and comment and share please.
The Knight in Shining Armor. Scene 1, The Oath Beneath the Silver Oak. At the edge of the kingdom of Eldoria, where mist curled like pale serpents between ancient trees, stood the Silver Oak, an enormous tree whose leaves shimmered as though touched by moonlight even in the day. For centuries, knights had come here to swear oaths, but few truly understood the weight of the promise they made. Sir Alaric knelt beneath the oak, his polished armor gleaming despite the dirt beneath his knees. Every plate had been hammered by the finest smiths in the capital, yet it was not vanity that made his armor shine. It was care. Care for duty. Care for honor. Care for the promise he was about to seal. Before him stood the High Steward of Eldoria, an old man with a voice like wind through stone. Around them, banners fluttered softly, bearing the golden lion of the realm. "Do you swear," the steward intoned, "to defend the weak, to stand against tyranny, and to place the good of the realm above your own life?" Alaric's voice did not tremble. "I swear it." The steward placed a hand upon Alaric's shoulder and lowered his sword. "Then rise, Sir Alaric of the Shining Guard." As Alaric stood, a horn echoed from the distant watchtower, urgent, sharp, and filled with fear. A rider galloped into the clearing, mud splattered across his cloak. "The eastern villages burn," he cried. "The Black Wyrm has returned from the Ashen Mountains." A murmur swept through the gathered knights. The Black Wyrm, an ancient dragon believed dead for generations, had once nearly destroyed Eldoria. Its return meant war, ruin, and terror. Alaric felt the weight of his oath settle upon his soul like iron. He fastened his helmet, its visor shaped like a lion's face, and stepped forward. "Send me," he said simply. The steward studied him, then nodded. "Go, Knight of Shining Armor. Let your light defy the darkness." And with that, Alaric mounted his white warhorse, Dawnfire, and rode eastward toward flame, shadow, and destiny. Scene 2, The Burning Fields. The road to the eastern villages was lined with blackened crops and shattered fences. Smoke drifted across the sky, turning the sun into a dull red coin. Alaric urged Dawnfire onward, his armor clanking in steady rhythm, a sound that reminded him he was still standing. As he reached the village of Briarhold, devastation greeted him. Homes smoldered. Wells had collapsed. The air reeked of ash and fear. From behind a ruined wall, a child emerged, small, trembling, clutching a wooden toy sword. His eyes widened at the sight of Alaric. "A knight," the boy whispered. "A real one." Alaric dismounted and knelt, lowering his helmet so the child could see his face. "Where is your family?" The boy pointed toward the old mill. The dragon, a broken bar, it came from the sky. Before Alaric could respond, a thunderous roar shook the ground. Shadows swept across the village as enormous wings blotted out the sun. The Black Wyrm descended. Its scales were dark as obsidian, etched with scars from ancient battles. Fire leaked from its jaws, melting stone as it landed near the mill. Villagers screamed and scattered. Alaric rose, drawing his sword, a light-bearer, a blade forged with silver runes that glowed faintly in the dragon's presence. "Stay behind me," he told the boy. The dragon laughed, a sound like mountains cracking. "Another shining fool," it growled. "Your armor will melt like the rest." Alaric advanced, shield raised. Fire erupted from the dragon's maw, but the knight stood firm. Flames washed over his armor, yet the polished steel reflected the heat, glowing but unbroken. With a cry, Alaric charged. Steel met scale. Sparks flew. The dragon's tail smashed into the ground, throwing Alaric aside. Pain flared through his ribs, but he forced himself up. He leapt, driving Lightbearer into the softer flesh beneath the dragon's wing. The Wyrm roared in agony and took flight. retreating toward the Ashen Mountains. Silence followed, broken only by crackling embers. The villagers emerged slowly, all written on their faces. "You didn't run," an elder said. "You stood." Alaric sheathed his sword. This was only the beginning. He knew now, the dragon would return, and next time, it would not flee so easily. Scene 3, The Trial of the Shattered Pass. To face the Black Wyrm, Alaric needed more than courage. He needed the Sunward Sigil, a relic said to pierce any darkness. It lay beyond the Shattered Pass, a place where even seasoned warriors feared to tread. The pass was a maze of broken stone bridges suspended over endless chasms. Wind screamed through the gaps, carrying whispers of those who had fallen. Halfway across, Alaric encountered the guardian of the pass, a towering figure of living stone, eyes glowing with ancient magic. "No blade may pass," the guardian thundered. "Only truth." Alaric lowered his sword. "Then ask." The guardian leaned closer. "Why do you fight, knight of shining armor?" Alaric hesitated. Images flooded his mind: the burning village, the frightened child, the oath beneath the silver oak. "I fight," he said slowly, "because if I do not, darkness wins by default. And because light must be chosen again and again." The guardian studied him, then stepped aside. "Pass, bearer of choice." Beyond the pass, Alaric found the Sunward Sigil, a circular emblem blazing with golden light. As he lifted it, the sigil fused into his shield, filling it with warmth and power. But the mountains trembled. The Black Wyrm emerged from the clouds, rage blazing in its eyes. "You return, little knight," it snarled. "This time, you die." Alaric raised his shield, now glowing like a second sun. Not today. The final battle had begun. Scene 4, Dawn over Eldoria. The clash shook the mountains. Fire met light. Shadow met steel. The dragon struck with fury, claws tearing stone from cliffs. Alaric answered with precision, each movement honed by training and faith. The Sunward Sigil absorbed the dragon's flames, releasing them back as blinding light. At last, the Black Wyrm faltered. With a final leap, Alaric drove Light-Bearer into the dragon's heart. A roar echoed across the peaks and then faded into silence. The dragon collapsed, its darkness dissolving into ash carried away by the wind. As dawn broke, golden light spilled across Eldoria. Alaric returned not as a conqueror, but as a guardian. Children cheered. Bells rang. Yet he did not remove his armor, for he knew the truth of his calling. A knight in shining armor is not defined by steel or glory but by the choice to stand when others fall. Beneath the silver oak, the steward met him once more. "You have fulfilled your oath," the old man said. Alaric shook his head. "An oath is never fulfilled, only renewed." And so the knight of shining armor rode on into legend, into light, and into the endless story of hope.